Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. This week, I've hosted from Arizona, Philadelphia, and now New York City. Tony, where have you gone?
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Three places I like to call the basement, the bathroom, and the kitchen. That's where I've gone. Okay?
Yeah, not a lot of airport or train terminal time on those three.
No, to be honest, no, but a lot of steps to climb. So, I mean, I'm getting my steps in at least. Welcome
Have you
to
done
PTI,
the
boys
Monahan train station? Have you done that? Monahan, have you taken the train here lately? It's just great, isn't it?
It's gorgeous. It is gorgeous. Welcome to PTI one more time, boys and girls. In today's episode, Brian Daboll is safe. Wemby is back on the court. And Lamar Jackson thinks Derrick Henry could break the single-season rushing record. But we begin today with the Philadelphia 76ers losing their opener last night at home without Joel Embiid and Paul George. The Sixers were blasted by Milwaukee 124-109 in a game that wasn't even that close. Now there is word the NBA is likely to begin an investigation later this week into why Embiid specifically is not playing. Wilbon, you were at that game. How does Embiid's absence feel to you?
Well, Tony, first of all, let's dismiss the notion that the investigation is like some Watergate-style examination. It isn't. The NBA has a protocol in place. They reserve the right to do this with any player, particularly star players missing games. Okay. Now, when I got to Philadelphia yesterday, and I think I discussed this with you yesterday, it was unbelievable the dissatisfaction, how upset Philadelphia was about Joel Embiid not playing because there's no new injury. They last saw him play in the Olympics. But, Tony, I spent a lot of time, I spent all evening with this topic, talking to all the principals involved. And basically, there's a tough decision here. And you know this because you have been fairly critical of Embiid for what he doesn't do in the playoffs. But, Tony, if he's not healthy for the playoffs, none of this stuff matters. Doesn't matter what he does in October. Doesn't matter what he does in Halloween. And so the Sixers have to make a decision, and that's what they're doing. And they're going to get booed for it. They're going to get criticized for it because he makes a lot of money and people pay a lot of money to see those games, and he wasn't out there last night. But, Tony, they have to decide and err, to me, on the side of getting him ready to play in April, May, June. They went out to spend a ton of money on Paul George. They've got a roster which looks like it might be able to challenge New York and Boston in the East. So to do that, Tone, Embiid's got to be out there. And it can't just be for a couple of games each series. So they're erring on holding him out now, no matter what the league thinks of it from a PR standpoint, and having him healthy later. And you know what? I am not going to fault them for that. I understand it.
Yeah, you're entitled to your opinion. My opinion is obviously different at this point. I don't know why Joel Embiid isn't playing, because he didn't have surgery like Kawhi Leonard, and he doesn't have a specific injury like Paul George. And he played in the Olympics, and now he's not playing in the NBA. I got a quote here from our friend Nick Nurse, who is the coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. Direct quote, "The plan is why he's not playing. They've determined he's not quite ready to go," unquote. The plan. So now in Philadelphia, we're trusting the plan. We're not trusting the process. And they've determined. Who exactly is they? Is it your Northwestern guy, Daryl Morey, the GM? Is it the owner, Josh Harris? Is it Julius Irving? The fact of the matter is, in Philadelphia, they understand that this guy gets hurt every single year. He averages 54 games a year. So if they hold him out, he's not going to get hurt. The plan, obviously, has to do with the playoffs, as you've said, and I'm going to go for a while here. Plans about the playoffs. The playoffs are in May and June. This now is October. You have to go through 82 games before you get to the playoffs. And how much money have the people who bought season tickets paid to see this guy who's not out there playing? To me, this is consumer fraud. We both agree on this one thing. The object here is to win a championship. I will simply say good luck, because I think it's consumer fraud. That's what I think.
Yeah, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know about that. And if I was paying that money to sit in those seats, maybe I would think that too. The bottom line is this, and I know you're not going to disagree. If he's not out there in April, May, and June,
they can't win.
It's a waste of time.
They can't win.
Yes. And
that's
so
right.
ultimately, that's the choice. Okay. And it is a plan. You're right. And it is Daryl Morey. It is Josh Harris. It's Joel Embiid. Yeah. It's Nick Nurse. It's the medical staff. It's all of them, Tone.
82 games,
and he's got to lose some more weight before he gets out there, too.
82 games until the playoffs start. 8 months.
Yeah. What's your
Have
over-under?
a nice day.
How many do you think he's going to play? Give me an over-under.
I got no over-under. Let's just move on. It's too early.
Listen to you. Angry because Joel Embiid's not playing the opener. I was there. I wasn't that angry. Annoyed, maybe. Let's move to the NFL. The New York Giants are 2-5, but owner John Mara said yesterday of head coach Brian Daboll and general manager Joe Shane, quote, "We are not making any changes this season, and I do not anticipate making any changes in the offseason either. I think I try to be more patient than maybe I've been in recent years," close quote. Tony, is Mara right to be patient with Daboll and Shane?
Well, he hasn't been patient. He's had a bunch of coaches, Joe Judge, Ben McAdoo, Pat Shurmur. None of them lasted more than 2 years. But the Giants stink right now. See, I understand why he wants to be patient. Giants stink right now. To me, some of the blame has to go on the coach and has to go on the general manager who assembles the team. Now, everybody in New York would put most of the blame on Daniel Jones, the quarterback, who has been there for 6 years, Mike, and has some interesting statistics. As a starter, he's 24, 41, and 1. He has 68 touchdown passes in 66 games with 44 interceptions and 48 fumbles. All right, so you would think by now somebody would have made a move and moved on from Daniel Jones. But these two guys, Shane and Daboll, this is only their third season, so maybe they can't do that. On the other hand, they let Saquon Barkley walk away. I don't think anybody thinks that was a particularly smart move. In their first year together, they were 9-7-1 and won a playoff game, which is great. Last year, 6-11, and Daniel Jones missed much of the season. Right now, 2-5 and 30th in football in offense, so it's all trending down. So my sense of this is they may not have the right people in key positions.
Well, the key position would be keeping a decision like keeping Daniel Jones and letting Saquon Barkley walk away. Just for a moment. You know what Saquon Barkley was last night? When they introduced the starting lineup of the Sixers in Philadelphia, Joel might not have been there, but Saquon Barkley was, and the house went crazy because Barkley's tearing it up right now. Okay, so they made the wrong decision. Yeah, I'm not going to blame Daboll necessarily for that. I don't know that very few coaches, and not Daboll, have final decision in that sort of acquisition, in that sort of decision.
That's right.
So, Tony, there's plenty of blame to go around. Maybe, I don't know if it's right or not, but it seems like it might be better to be patient. Firing people every other year has not worked. So go to the opposite end and try that.
Yeah, what you don't want, Mike, is an impulsive, crazy owner like the guy in Carolina. No, you don't want that.
No, there's no
point.
By
the same token, you got to know when to jump. You got to know. The World Series opens tomorrow night. It's a familiar pairing, Dodgers and Yankees, even though it's the first time they're facing each other since 1981. They're led by the biggest stars in baseball, Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge. This is the first time ever that two players who hit 50 home runs or more will face each other in the World Series. And it's the first time home run champs of each league will face each other since 1956, when the Dodgers' Duke Snider and the Yankees' Mickey Mantle were in the World Series. So I ask you, Wilbon, who would you rather have in this World Series, Ohtani or Judge?
Tony, as you often say when we decide to choose between two great players, whoever you take, I'll take the guy left on the board. And that is the case here.
That's right.
I will say this, and I'm consistent about this one thing. I like people who play defense. And I'm not going to say that Aaron Judge is, Willie Mays or Ken Griffey Jr. or Roberto Clemente out there in the field. But he's more than useful. He's a better than average fielder. And so if I needed to go to a tiebreaker, and I don't, if I needed to go to a tiebreaker, I might go to Judge for that one reason. Ohtani, of course, once he gets out there on the mound again, then all ties, then no ties, they go to Ohtani. But that's not the case right now. But we're splitting hairs, Tony. I'll take either. You can have whoever you want first.
So my answer is sort of dependent on Giancarlo Stanton. If he continues to hit like he hit against Kansas City and Cleveland, then I think Judge gets a lot more pitches to look at because you can't walk everybody. So if he keeps banging home runs, that is to the benefit of Soto and Judge, and then I would take Judge. But Judge has a sufficient history in the postseason now to look at, And it's not that good. And I won't give you analytics. I'll just give you numbers. He's batting .203, 15 home runs, 31 RBI, 79 strikeouts in 53 games. He's got an OPS of 761. His OPS for his career regular season is 1.010. It is the second best in the last 60 years. So there's a drop-off. Yeah. Whereas, meanwhile, Ohtani walks into the playoffs without that kind of drop-off. Ohtani's batting .288, 3 homers, 10 RBI in 11 games. OPS is 934.
He has no sample size.
It's 945. He's been on base, Mike, 23 times in 11 games. So maybe I would take Shohei, but I'd be happy with Judge.
Of course I would.
Let's take a break. Sure. Coming up, is it more likely that Derrick Henry breaks the single-season rushing record or that Lamar Jackson wins his 3rd MVP?
Should we be more intrigued by Wembanyama and the Spurs or Clay and the Mavericks as they open their seasons tonight in Dallas? Good.
Let me make sure of this. I'm not angry at Joel Embiid. I'm not. But this plan is about May and June. It's October.
Yeah, but it's got to be.
What are you doing?
But it's got to be.
Well, how many games is he going to play? 50?
Well, I asked
When's
you for over-under. You were too angry to give one.
Pardon the interruption is presented by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, part of Happy Hour.
It's time for toss-up. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves, finishes the show, and is forced to wait yet another night for the start of the World Series. What's first?
Toss-up. What's more likely? Derrick Henry breaks the single-season rushing record, or Lamar Jackson wins his 3rd MVP?
Derrick Henry's averaging 125 yards a game. The record is 2,105 by Eric Dickerson in 16 games. Derrick Henry will get 17 games. If he continues on this pace, Mike, he will finish with 2,120 yards. That's pretty narrow area there, and plus, in Baltimore's next 10 games, 8 different times they will face a team that is in the top half of the league in rush defense. So while Derrick Henry's a reasonable bet, it's not a lock. Lamar Jackson is on pace to become the first man ever to go 4,000 yards passing and 1,000 yards running. The MVP award goes to quarterbacks all the time. Every year since 2012, it's going to a quarterback. His competition right now would be Jared Goff, maybe by the end of the season, Josh Allen, maybe Jaden Daniels. I will take Lamar Jackson in this bet.
Yeah, if Baltimore's lucky, neither one of these things will happen. I am claiming credit because I said 2 weeks into this season when he couldn't figure out how to use, the best running back, most powerful running backs is Jim Brown. All right. So I said that Mr. Todd Monken, offensive play caller, should be dismissed if he couldn't figure it out. He did figure it out. But they can't keep this pace. The Ravens don't need to keep the pace. They need to use him wisely, judiciously at times as you get later in the season. He is 30 years old. And he will take votes because I would vote for him. I don't have a vote anymore. I would vote for him and not Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's been the MVP twice before. The difference right now for Baltimore is Derrick Henry. And it doesn't mean Lamar Jackson isn't as great. It might not even be greater. Derrick Henry's presence allows him to be even greater. Yep. They will take votes from each other, which means Lamar Jackson will not win the MVP. Derrick Henry should not break the record, and Baltimore should win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, no argument. No argument on the logic. What's next?
Toss-up. They open against each other tonight. Which team are you more intrigued by, the Spurs or the Mavericks?
If you're asking me the team, I am more intrigued by the Mavericks. They went to the finals last year and they added Klay Thompson. It's almost unprecedented shooting power to have Klay Thompson, Luka Doncic, and Kyrie Irving. They should go for 70 to 80 comfortably all the time, probably give up that many on defense, but that's why you have other people on the court to play defense. By the way, I just found out today that one of Kyrie Irving's nicknames is World B Flat. I think that's brilliant. Makes me very happy. If you ask me about what individual, I would then say Victor Wembanyama of the Spurs. There are a lot of people, Mike, and I think you are one of them, who believe that maybe as early as December he's going to be the best basketball player on the planet. I'm just not as intrigued with his team. I think with Chris Paul, they're going to be much better. I think they're a playoff team, but I don't think they're on the level of the Mavericks. I don't.
Tone, they're not. They're not. And I'm going to sort of split hairs with you and disagree, not really disagree. If we talk about the team I'm interested in most tonight, right now, to start the season, it's the Mavericks. Because you got Klay Thompson. You want to see how he fits with Luka Doncic, who I think will be the MVP this year, and Kyrie Irving in that cast, and Jason Kidd running that thing, the most underrated coach to me in basketball, Jason Kidd. So it would be them. But, Tony, as you said, if we now look ahead and we get February, March, look, Wembanyama ended last season one of the 10 to 12 best players in the league. Ended last season. Not the whole year, but ended it. Right now, he's one of the 7 to 8 best players, maybe as low as 10, maybe not. By March 1st, Wembanyama could be the best player and the most valuable player in NBA. He wants it. He's so emotionally driven. It reminds me of Jordan and Kobe and that level of players. He was so destroyed when he didn't win the Olympics, and you remember the tears and how he soaked that in. I can't wait to watch this kid all year. Wembanyama's going to be the answer by the 1st of March.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be able to watch him all year because Embiid's not playing all year. That's it. Let's take one last break. Still to come, and unbeaten goes down in college football.
And could the Vikings lose for the second straight time tonight? See, I go to Philly, and Embiid is going to ask me, as he has, why you hating? I'm like, that would be Anthony Kornheiser, not me.
I don't hate.
Not me.
I'm not that kind of guy.
Pardon the Interruption is presented by the refreshing taste of Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Please drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour.
Happy time, people. Happy 50th birthday, Kalen DeBoer. How happy is it? It certainly seemed it would be happy when DeBoer left Washington, where he was 25-3, to take the job at Alabama and replace Nick Saban. It certainly seemed it would be happy when DeBoer opened up his SEC season by beating Georgia, a stirring win. But then Bama promptly lost to Vanderbilt, which hadn't happened in 40 years. And then they were tight with South Carolina. Just last week, they lost to Tennessee. That's not exactly a rolling tide. This week, number 21 Missouri comes to town. If Alabama loses, that'll be 3 losses. Nick Saban only lost 3 games once in his last 16 seasons at Alabama. But happy birthday.
If Nick Saban is the greatest coach ever in college football history, ever, what makes people think that Kalen DeBoer was going to come in and equal a Nick Saban season? That's just dumb. It's just not rational. And so 8-4 was about where I thought this year's Alabama team would finish, and it probably is exactly where they'll finish.
Happy anniversary, Reggie Hodges. On this day 14 years ago, with the Cleveland Browns on their own 23-yard line, the veteran punter waited a split second as the New Orleans defenders parted like the Red Sea, and then ran 68 yards on a fake to help Cleveland upset the Saints in New Orleans. That 68-yard scamper is the longest run by a punter in NFL history. In fact, it was the longest run by any Cleveland Brown that season. Hodges punted for the Rams, the Eagles, the Jets, the Titans, and the Browns, averaging 41.5 yards per punt. I like fake punts. I wish more teams would try them. But I guess the analytics say they're not a good risk. Too bad, they're fun.
I mean, this guy punted for all those teams. He's that athletic. I never heard of him until we wished him happy anniversary. Never, couldn't associate his name. Couldn't go in multiple choice if it said, pick out the punter for X number of teams in the NFL. Couldn't have done it, Tom. So, yeah, happy anniversary indeed.
Well, he's not Russ Hodges. He's not Eddie Hodges. Happy trails to Liberty being unbeaten. Liberty was 5-0, favored by 27 over 0-6 Kennesaw State last night. But Kennesaw pulled the upset 27-24. This was a shocker. Liberty had won 17 straight regular season games and was in the running to become the top-rated Group of 5 school, which would have earned it a berth in the 12-team playoff. Meanwhile, Kennesaw is in its first season in FBS. Didn't even have a program until 2015. With Liberty's loss, just 9 unbeaten teams remain, 7 Power 5 schools, plus Army and Navy.
Army and Navy, I'm still paying close attention to. Is this what your one television landed on last night? Is this the one channel you stayed with? Was that football game?
No, I did not. I bailed on. Didn't even go to it at all. Let's go to the big picture if we could. Cowboys All-Pro kicker Brandon Aubrey missing practice due to jury duty. Okay by you?
No, he should do what Anthony Kornheiser would do when he walks to the courthouse and says, I'm sorry, do you know who I am? And then out of the courthouse. Alex Ovechkin scored an empty netter last night and is now only 40 shy of breaking Wayne Gretzky's career record for goals scored. Your thoughts?
He's going to get it this year, or this season anyway, not this year, this season. Fired Jets coach Robert Saleh with the Green Bay coaching staff in what's called a fluid role. Your thoughts?
Yeah. He's working for one of his good buddies as a consultant. Of course he should. 5-1 Vikes, 2-4 Rams tonight. Who you got?
Could be the last game as a Ram for Cooper Kupp. Nakua is back. They're home, but I'm going to take Minnesota in this one. Last one, Thunder and Nuggets tonight. Are you intrigued?
I am, Tony, and I wonder if the Nuggets are slipping a little bit. And the Thunder, to me, this year, they start the season as must-see. That's my must-see team as many nights as possible, OKC.
Must-see TV for you, not necessarily for me. We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time, and I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts. And now,
PTI. Guys, bonus topic.
All right, Wilbon. What are your expectations for Victor Wembanyama here in year two?
Well, Tony, coming off the summer and the spring in his last non-playoff games, of course, because he wasn't in the playoffs, in the regular season when he was just unbelievably fantastic. And the want to, the emotion that comes when he loses. And you seems like, the great players, they hate to lose almost at some stage more than they love to win. And Wembanyama fits that, and his game fits it. He's got two adults in the room now with Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes. Adults in the room. A terrific young teammate in Devin Vassell. They're players. I would bet that Greg Popovich probably feels he can coach him even harder now in his second season. He's going to be coached brilliantly and well, and all the elements are there. I just hope he has good health. I think that he will be one of the 3 to 5 best players in the league, if not the best player, by March 1st, and I can't wait to see the evolution.
Yeah, so he's 7'4", and he moves like a guard. And when he needs to, he can protect the rim. There's almost nothing people say that he can't do. There's a lot of people out there, and you may be one of them, maybe not by the end of this year, but maybe by year 3 or year 4, where people are going to say we've never seen anything like him. That is an insult to me, to the memory of Wilt Chamberlain as a player, and the memory of Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when he entered college, because we hadn't seen anything like either of them. It's very possible that Wembanyama is the next on that line. I mean, it's very possible. Yeah. I sort of look, I look forward to seeing it. I'm incredibly physically skilled, and as you say, with the desire to be the greatest player maybe of all time. I mean, I'll yield to you, and I would like to see it. I would. The only other thing is, Mike, that last year I thought he was too frail. But I hold back on saying that because I've thought of Kevin Durant that way for 15 years, and he's not too frail. He's not.
Yeah, because you know what, Tony, muscle may not be as beef, how about I say it that way, may not be as necessary as it was for say, Charles Oakley in the 80s. But this kid has it. He seems to have it all. He has the demeanor. He's in the right culture to bring him along. And it's the evolution you mentioned. No, I don't look back and say, he is going to be better than the following people, because I'm not going to just supplant people, supplant Bill Russell and Kareem and Wilt. I'm not going to do that. But in terms of what he is today and what he can become right now in this league, in this environment, can't wait to see it. That's it. We're done. Back to you.